So often in our national dialogue, voices from places like this are passed by.
From WILL's Illinois newsroom, I'm Kimberly Schofield.
But that does not mean there are not those who are listening.
Good afternoon.
Kimberly Schofield is a host at National Public Radio Station WILL in Champaign, Illinois.
Parents don't want their children to change elementary schools next year.
We went on the air in 1922.
Her boss, Moss Bresnahan, sees it as the mission of this small 20-person newsroom to cover a community that encompasses both a college and tens of thousands of acres of farmland.
Well, public radio now is often the only locally owned radio stations left with all the consolidation that's taking place. So it's really up to us to bring local news.
68 million Americans live in the Midwest. 28% of this country's population. Hardly ever, though, are national political programs based from here.
We are not two different countries. This is one big country.
Jeremy Hobson, though, is trying to change that.
This is a very important midterm election. I think midterms are always difficult because not everybody is paying attention to them and not everybody really cares that much.
Jeremy once hosted the NPR show Here and Now. After leaving the network a few years ago, he started realizing how much of the national media is consolidated to coastal cities. He felt places like his hometown of Urbana, Illinois, were left out.
There are all of these stereotypes, this cartoonish caricature of the middle of the country from people, many people on the coasts. And I want to show them that no, in fact, the middle of the country is just as diverse, interesting, dynamic as the coastal cities, and the people who live here should be part of the national conversation.
So Jeremy decided to take his 20 years in public broadcasting and give his community,
what's your name and where are you calling from,
a national platform.
Welcome to The Middle. I'm Jeremy Hobson, live this evening from WILL Illinois Public Media in Urbana, Illinois. That's my hometown.
Last week, he launched an idea on 500 NPR stations, a show called The Middle.
In Fargo, North Dakota. Joseph, what issue is going to bring you to the polls?
Everything about the one-hour radio program is tailored to the middle of the country.
Are you voting on the issue of abortion?
It airs live at 8 p.m. Central Time, so folks here and in Mountain Standard Time have a chance to be a part of the conversation after work.
The goal of this show is to bring voices from the vast middle of the country into the national conversation.
Each week, Jeremy and his crew will also host the show from a new city and bring in guests from that city, like Urbana, Illinois Mayor Diane Marlin.
We're all still adjusting to the post-pandemic reality.
The whole thing seemed to quickly strike a chord. Calls came in from Denver to Duluth.
The most important thing for anybody in this midterm election should be democracy.
Most important issues for me coming up in the election is transgender rights.
For now, The Middle is only set to run 3 more shows, the last airing the day after the election.
The amount of calls that we got, there's a hunger from people in the middle to be a part of this conversation.
At the end of the day, Jeremy's hope is to give a microphone to people from places like this.
What is the issue getting you to the polls this midterm election? Our number 844-4-MIDDLE.
So that this election cycle, their voices can be heard from coast to coast.
With all of the political power that exists in the middle of the country, in between the coasts, there's no reason why the people who live here should not be a part of the national conversation every single day. And so the void I'm trying to fill is that.
In Urbana, Illinois.
I am Jeremy Hobson. I'll talk to you next Wednesday.
I'm Chris Conti.
On a bright, sunny morning, Christine Jennings needs to get to her doctor's appointment. But there's one issue.
I don't drive. My back is fused. It looks like a railroad track.
So the 67-year-old reached out to Partners in Care Maryland, a nonprofit that helps seniors with day-to-day tasks.
I called to get a ride to the doctor's, and I was lucky to have Iris be assigned to me.
Everybody helps each other.
That's Iris Coley, a volunteer driver for the past 16 years.
I've done a lot of driving. I've enjoyed it, helping people.
At least it's a sunny day.
What makes this connection so different, though, is that both of these women give back to the organization in their own way.
It's always busy.
Iris drives, and Christine volunteers in the nonprofit's office.
I started out doing birthday cards. And now I'm into data entry.
And all that time they give comes right back to them through a system called time banking.
That generation, they don't like to ask for handouts. So what can we do to make it where they would be willing to ask for help or to receive services? What can we do to make it as easy as possible so that they're willing to have a network and a community?
Mandy Arnold is the nonprofit's CEO, which runs background checks on the 800 volunteers in the program.
Our main programs are transportation, handyman, and then member care services. Our services and our mission is to support the independence of older adults, right? So that they can age in place, be an active part of the community, but also keep their dignity and respect.
That's where the time banking comes in. All the hours put in by volunteers can eventually be used by them when they get older and need help themselves.
It teaches you a lot and how to go about your own life, you know, and plan ahead for yourself, you know, in the future, because everybody's going to age and everybody's going to need help eventually.
It's a crucial need, considering the more than 55 million people in the U.S. over the age of 65.
The Biden administration did propose to add $150 billion more for home and community-based services, but it hasn't passed Congress.
Which is why Partners in Care caught the eye of John Schall, who heads up the Caregiver Action Network. He says there simply aren't enough nursing home beds in the country to accommodate the growing need. His group recently gave a major grant to Partners in Care.
The only way we're going to be able to live through this, what I call caregiving cliff, you know, that we're headed towards, is really by putting supports in place so that people can live at home longer than they would otherwise.
When I go places and I tell people what we do and how we do what we do, they're always like, you know, do you have that here? I wish you had that there, because my parents or my grandparents, someone that they know could benefit from it. And so it is needed. It's needed all over the United States.
That's something Christine Jennings understands more than most.
We're a group of friends.
She retired from a career.
A win today.
I know.
Beautiful though.
Working for the State Department of Aging.
So it's full circle.
In Glen Burnie, Maryland.
Thank you.
I'm Maya Rodriguez.
The push for more research into why some people experience life-changing long COVID symptoms. Next on The Race.